Hello, this is Nathan Mertz. This is my voiceover for my first draft of my literature review for the Capstone. And I guess I should start by talking about what the purpose of my capstone is. And I'm a social studies teacher. I teach 7th grade Texas history. And one of the things that I've noticed in my classroom is that students have a hard time working with primary sources, especially when they work with primary sources on their own, textual primary sources. When we're working on primary sources together and I'm helping lead the students through the primary sources, the students seem to pick up on what the goals of the primary source is and the main ideas and those types of things. But when they're asked to do it individually on their own, they really struggle and they need a lot of guidance and me holding their hand kind of step by step getting them through it. So that's the goal of my literature review and capstone, is to kind of figure out what methods are the best ways to improve, individual primary source analysis. So the first article I reviewed is called "The Power and Potential of Primary Sources" by Denise Morgan and Timothy Rosinski. The purpose of this study is how to implement the proper use of primary sources into a classroom to allow students to develop critical thinking skills and a more complex understanding of the world. This article is a great article to my literature review. It says that primary, as most of these articles will say, primary sources are a great aid to the social studies classroom. They're very beneficial. But one of the things that Morgan and Rosinski said that really stuck out to me is that the article states that using specific questions to consider for analyzing specific types of primary sources is one way to approach documents using a structured method. So this document really advocates using the same questions in a very structured method and kind of breaking the primary source into pieces and letting the students tackle the primary source by answering questions step by step, a very structured, scaffolded approach. The second article is titled "Fostering Historical Thinking with Digital Primary Sources" by Billy Talley and Warren Goldenberg. This article examined the performance of middle and high school students on an online document analysis exercise. And once again, this article states how important it is to use primary sources in a social studies classroom and how beneficial they are. But the thing that really stuck out to me is that when students have structured opportunities to construct meaning from primary materials and critically examine those meanings, they feel more invested in the results. So once again, Talley and Goldenberg, like the article before it, is really advocating the use of a structured method for tackling primary source documents. Third article in the literature review is titled "Improving Classroom Instruction: Understanding the Developmental Nature of Analyzing Primary Sources" by Karen Dutt-Donner, Catherine Cook-Catone, and Susan Allen. The purpose of this article study was to have a better understanding of the nature and development of the skills that aid middle school students in analyzing primary source documents, the impact of students' background knowledge on their analysis of primary source documents, and the process by which students create historical understanding. This article is very kind of similar to the first two, and that they talk about how great it is to use primary source documents and how much it adds to student knowledge. But once again, one of the things that stuck out to me is that the authors say teachers need to provide consistent, successful use of primary source documents as a part of learning so that students can see their importance in understanding the real story. And the word that really stuck out to me there was consistent. Teachers need to provide a consistent method. And they go on to say that the teacher must provide experience in evaluating the document's relevance primarily by providing guided questions to scaffold analysis. So once again, this article is advocating a scaffolded, consistent approach for students to successfully analyze primary sources. The fourth article is a little bit different. It's titled "Applying Research and Reading Comprehension to Social Studies Instruction for Middle and High School Students." The purpose of this article is to present a set of research-based practices designed to provide effective and feasible instruction to improve students' reading and comprehension of text. So this article isn't necessarily trying to improve student primary source analysis. It's mostly trying to improve student reading and comprehension in social studies classrooms, which I also think is a very important part of successful document analysis, is being able to, read and comprehend. So Swanson and Wozniak present a few different strategies to improve student reading. One of the things they present is a practice to incorporate primary source text reading within social studies content area instruction. So though it's not necessarily about improving primary source analysis, reading and comprehension definitely ties into improving document analysis in social studies. The fifth article is titled Promoting Reading Comprehension in Social Studies by Dixie Massey and Tina Hefner. The purpose of this article is to provide teachers in middle and secondary schools with concrete techniques for teaching reading and content area subjects. Once again, this article is very similar to the one presented right before in that it doesn't necessarily, its subject isn't really primary source analysis. It's more about improving reading and comprehension once again. However, Massey and Hefner advocate improving comprehension and reading by using a scaffolded reading experience, or SRE. So once again, they're advocating a scaffolded way of improving reading, which is very similar to the scaffolded ways to improve document analysis, and I think they tie into each other. Massey and Hefner provide, they separate their strategies, their 6 strategies, into 3 categories: pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading. And it's this kind of like a scaffolded approach for students to use, before they're about to read a document, as they're reading the document, after they're reading the document, to kind of improve their reading and comprehension, which I also think will help improve their document and their primary source analysis. The 6th article is titled The Challenges of Primary Sources Collaboration in the K-16 Elizabeth Murray Project by Patricia Cleary and David Newman. The purpose of this article is to discuss the use or misuse of primary sources in K-12 social studies classroom. And this article talks about, how primary sources aren't used correctly and ways that they can be used in a more proper manner. And once again, this article is very similar to the articles presented at the first of the presentation in that they promote a very scaffolded approach. In fact, they promote the model AP parts. They discuss AP parts, and they say that students examining documents in secondary classrooms can benefit from this mnemonic developed by the College Board as a guideline for asking questions of documents. So once again, they're advocating a very structured, scaffolded, step-by-step approach for students to do as they are analyzing primary source documents. The 7th article is titled Social Studies in the Spotlight, Digital Collections, Primary Sources in the Common Core by Annette Lamb and Larry Johnson. This article is a little different in that it doesn't really give any pedagogical expertise or to help students improve reading or improve document analysis. Instead, they kind of just talk about the types of primary sources that are used in classrooms and maybe how these types of documents affect how students analyze or their interest in the documents. Instead of just using books all the time, you can use a legal document or a photograph or a letter, and maybe this legal document or a photograph is a better complement to your lesson instead of using a book. So this article is not necessarily about improving reading or improving document analysis. It basically just talks more about the types of primary sources that are being used and how that affects students' success of primary sources, of analyzing primary sources. Okay, so the 8th article I haven't gotten to yet. I've found my 8th and 9th article. I'm still looking for my 10th article. I plan on getting my 8th and 9th article finished and added by the end of the week. But feel free to make any comments that you would like to about what I have so far. Thank you.